What's happening, folks? Welcome back to the channel, and welcome back to another little player in focus video, let's call it. But we have a couple truths. We have a couple things that we need to admit. And we need to admit that Mikel Arteta was right when he told us, and we have to listen, be truthful and acknowledge this. He told us when David Raya came into this football club as a goalkeeper in 2023, he told us basically with his actions that this guy is going to be my number one. This is why I'm bringing him in, not to be a backup, not to, waste time. That was a loan that was brought in that summer in 2023, mind you. And we're all wondering at the time, okay, you're bringing a goalkeeper in on loan. We have Aaron Ramsdale, who's a decent number one. That wasn't the priority at the time. Maybe we needed a striker or this or that. He brought in a goalkeeper in David Raya, and many of us questioned that decision because Aaron Ramsdale was a fan favorite. Aaron Ramsdale was loved by everybody. And again, we didn't really see it as much of an issue. So why prioritize that position when you didn't necessarily need to? Most would say, most would ask. And fair play. 3 years later, 2026, that loan signing was obviously made permanent. Mikel Arteta obviously felt that that was a position that was needed to be filled in order to take us to the next level. And fair play. 3 years on, it shows it's paid dividends. He seemed to have been right, Mikel Arteta. In fact, he is right. He was right for making that upgrade essentially from Ramsdale to David Raya, and fair play to him. He was right. We all got it wrong. We all were a big advocate for Ramsdale. We wanted Ramsdale. We love Ramsdale. But football's a ruthless game. There's no room for sentiment. And that decision has proved to elevate us and take us on leaps and bounds. Fair flip and play, Mikel Arteta. He was right. It took us however long to acknowledge it finally, but we have now done so. 3 years later, some of you maybe have recognized it last year, the year before. Maybe you guys recognized it the same season he came in 2023. But fair play. Wow, what a decision it has proved to be. What a player David Raya is. Ladies and gentlemen, please remember to like and subscribe to the channel. We really would appreciate that. As I always say, we're growing, we're expanding, we're doing big things, we're doing numbers, and it's all about continuation and continuing to grow and not staying still and not st resting on your laurels, right? Always growing, always developing, always looking to improve. So please hit that like, please subscribe to the channel, please hit the notification bell so you never miss a show. But yeah, David Raya, where do we start with him? I'm at the point of saying this guy is Arsenal Player of the Season. He should be Arsenal Player of the Season. I know the FWA Football Writers Award came out with their Footballer of the Year, and it was Bruno Fernandes. And I can understand why with Bruno Fernandes, outfield contributions, outfield players are treated differently than goalkeepers. Obviously, Bruno Fernandes, at the time of recording, still has a chance to break the assist record for most assists in a single season, currently held by Thierry Henry and Kevin De Bruyne. And you understand why, from a performance perspective or an individual performance perspective, you understand why Bruno might be getting that award. However, David Raya, again, this is where goalkeepers might be a little bit disrespected. David Raya is currently in a team that's top of the table, fighting to win a Premier League. Um, and his contributions, if we're talking about on-field contributions, and again, the disrespect that maybe goalkeepers get sometimes, his on-field contributions, David Raya, have saved Arsenal points this season, have contributed to Arsenal being top of the table as we currently are at this moment in time. It's not often that you see goalkeepers get individual accolades such as these, like these type of awards, right? When have we ever seen a goalkeeper win the Ballon d'Or, for example, or even get a Player of the Year in the Premier League? It just doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. And for one reason or another, it doesn't happen. But we need to start, I think, again, respecting goalkeepers a little bit more. Um, Plain and simple. Goalkeepers are a massive part of the game. And the way the game has revolutionized these days, where goalkeepers are very much pivotal to the way teams play and need to be trusted with the ball at their feet, right? They're that extra outfield player, and David Raya epitomizes that. He didn't start that. That was started many years ago, right? Maybe the Manuel Neuers of the world, who was plays like a sweeper keeper. Manuel Neuer, big him up, by the way, who still plays to this day at 40 years of age. Those type of players who were sweeper keepers or are sweeper keepers, revolutionized the game in that sense. Somebody who's high off his line, somebody who you can give the ball to his feet and you trust him, somebody who again wants to get out of his box and play as that literally that extra field outfield player. Not just somebody who makes saves, right? Goalkeepers nowadays are way more than about making saves. And that's exactly what David Raya is and is about. He's not just a shot stopper. He was brought in initially. What I believe, what we believe is David Raya was brought in initially because he's fantastic with the ball at his feet. And that is how our system is built around. And that's how we want to play. We want to play with a goalkeeper, like I said, who's that extra, essentially cheat code outfield player who can break lines, who can, make certain passes, play comfortably, resist the press. Um, that's exactly what we brought him in for, David Raya. And we always liked Ramsdale as a shot stopper. Always, Ramsdale has a highlight reel of saves of his own that he's made since he's been at Arsenal, just at Arsenal for fantastic saves, right? You think back to that free kick against Leicester, at Leicester's ground, and so on and so forth, right? Like Ramsdale has made unbelievable saves, but so when we brought in Raya, we were initially saying, okay, well, Ramsdale might be a better shot stopper, but okay, fair enough. David Raya is better with the ball at his feet, and so that has proved 3 years on. But now it's not just the fact that David Raya is fantastic with the ball at his feet. David Raya also is a fantastic shot stopper. His reflexes, his reactions, I think we've seen that now, right? It's fair to say, again, we're talking about highlight reels now. David Raya has been here for 3 years, and this season alone, the saves that he's made and saves at pivotal moments in games, mind you. Like we're talking when the game is 0-0. We're talking about when we have a 1-0 lead, preserving the lead, preserving our points. The saves that David Raya has made this season alone, you can just put in the rafters for of his career of, amazing saves, phenomenal saves in just the 2025-26 season alone. Never mind since he's been at the club. It's crazy, and obviously some of those saves, for those who've been following Arsenal Football Club all season long, some of those saves obviously include, the save this past weekend against West Ham, Fernandez in on goal, 1-on-1, basically in the 6 yard box, point blank range. David Raya stays up strong, makes the save. Minte, right at the Emirates, if you guys remember, Minte's curling effort that looked like it was destined for the back of the net. David Raya makes a diving effort to his right hand side, one hand tips it over the crossbar. Um, you know, Tottenham Hotspur at their stadium, at their ground in the North London Derby. Cleared one off the line. Great reaction save. Um, Aston Villa, point blank range at the Emirates. I think it was John McGinn who was in on goal or whoever it was literally right in the box. As David Raya makes the first save and I think makes the reaction save from McGinn, who literally probably should do better, definitely should do better, but shoots it almost right at David Raya in the 6 yard box. But David Raya still has to react, cleared off the line unbelievably how that didn't go in the back of the net. This was at the Emirates against Villa. And there's so many others saves that he's made from corner kicks, reactions, or he's tipped the ball over the bar from headers. I remember one fantastic save that he made at Brentford's ground at the Gita Community Stadium against Igor Thiago. Um, just I'm sure you guys can tell me many more, right? It's just save after save after save this guy has made to just save Arsenal points, save Arsenal's season at times, and none more so than the save against West Fernandez on the weekend when we played West Ham. And like I said, at that time it was 0-0. That save potentially saves our season, and we need to start respecting these types of things more for goalkeepers, right? They literally keep you in games. They can literally earn you points. They can save you points. Donnarumma proved it last year in the semifinals of the Champions League against us, where I think he was man of the match in both semifinal legs. So it literally just goes to show goalkeepers and the impact they can make. Why can't David Raya win Player of the Season for us, for Arsenal? Yes, Declan Rice. Yes, Gabriel. These players, but you know, there's 11 players on the pitch. Not just 10 and it's not 10 in a goalie, it's 11 players, right? Goalkeepers are still footballers, they're still players at the end of the day. They're included in your match day roster, included in your match day squad. They're the 11th man, quite literally the 11th man on the pitch. Why can't goalkeepers get these accolades? David Raya, for me, I think is definitely Arsenal's player of the season. I truly believe that for his contributions. Because you have to think about, like I said, it's moments that win you games over the course of an entire season. Declan Rice has scored his goals. Gabriel has scored his goals. He's defended. He's made his blocks and so on and so forth. How many of those goals that Declan Rice has scored, for example, how many of those have led to points, earned points for Arsenal over the course of the season versus David Raya saves that he's made at crucial points in the season? You'd love to do the comparisons and see whose influence is greater on the team. I know, you'd argue that both of those are pivotal. Rice and Raya are both pivotal in the way they've transformed Arsenal Football Club and the way we play in our style and our system under this manager, right? So it's close. It definitely is close, but Raya's played all what 36 games in the league so far this season, two to play. Um, he's gonna win or he's already won the Golden Glove. Congratulations to him, third in a row. And it's just this, it's a phenomenal achievement, man. I don't believe any keeper at the moment is playing at a higher level than him. He's on a brilliant form, probably the form of his life. I think he's on for, you look at the other goalkeepers around the world, Donnarumma. I don't think Donnarumma's had as good of a season as David Raya. You look at Courtois, who's been in and out of injury this season. David Raya is playing at a very high level. How he's not Spain's number one is a joke. He's better than that Simon that they play in goal. I don't care what anybody says. David Raya is better than Simon that plays number one for France. Absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt. Without a shadow of a doubt. David Raya is better than him. Um, and it's just again, if we had Ramsdale in goal to this point, you just have to think to yourself, would Ramsdale, you know, would we be in a title race still at this level with 2 games left to win the league if Ramsdale was in goal for us? I'm not sure. I'm just not sure because Ramsdale is on record for admitting that he's had concentration issues and he has concentration issues at times. When he was playing for Arsenal, at least, we have majority of the ball, we dominate possession. So, maybe teams with a brilliant back line that we have as well, maybe teams don't get in on our goal as much, and therefore Ramsdale doesn't have as much to do. Therefore, he loses concentration at times. He's admitted that in an interview. I think it was with Ian Wright or whoever it was at the time. Ian Wright was definitely there. If he wasn't the interviewer, righty, he was definitely in that room being, what as the interview was being done with Ramsdale. And yeah, Ramsdale had admitted that, yeah, he has concentration issues. He has those times where he'll just switch off if he's not in the game, or if he's not involved, or if he's not making saves, or if he's not getting the ball at his feet. Which is concerning for a manager to hear. I'm sure that wouldn't have gone down well with Arteta at the time. And yeah, for as good as Ramsdale is, again, we've seen those lapses of concentration in him. Famously 3-3 against Southampton at the Emirates when we were late in the season, in the 22-23 season, when we were trying to win the league. Ramsdale with a couple, certainly one high-profile error, trying to play out of the back that cost us. And at a time when you're trying to win a league late in the stretch, late in the season, in crunch time, in the business end of the season, those mistakes are going to cost you. You can't afford to make those kind of mistakes or make those mistakes too often. And we've seen one or two blunders from Ramsdale. And for as good as he is, these are the situations and these are the moments that separate the good from the great from the world class. And it's the ones who make the least amount of mistakes. Those ones are the ones that get remembered and recognized around the world and win the trophies. And David Raya, whilst he hasn't won the majors with us yet, I believe he will do. He's on course for it. It's a fine margins. How many high profile errors has David Raya made in crucial moments for us? He saved us not only in the Premier League, by the way, the Champions League as well, crucial saves. I remember against Sporting Lisbon, when their left back, Arujo, I think it was in on goal in the first leg. Left-footed effort that hit the bar. David Raya got a hand onto that. I remember the double save, was it? In the Champions League last season, was against Atalanta from the penalty spot. Sorry, he made the save and made the reaction save again. David Raya, time and time again, the guy is just, and it's his concentration levels too. Because again, where Ramsdale may, and admittedly so, said that he switches off sometimes, or he'll switch off if he doesn't have too much to do. He finds it being hard to engage and involve himself in the game if he's not, actively having anything to do in the game for long periods. David Raya, it would be easy for him to do the same, but he just doesn't. He's just alert, David Raya. In goal, playing for this same back line, where again you're playing with Gabriel, Timber, Saliba in front of you, you're not going to have much to do probably as a goalkeeper 9 times out of 10, right? But when he's still called upon, David Raya, that's the difference. When David Raya is still called upon, he'll still make those saves, or he sweeps up well, right? How many times have we seen David Raya high off of his line. When the ball goes over the top, David Raya will sweep up. He'll be out of his 18-yard box and just sweep it up and bail his defenders out. When forwards may be running onto a long ball over the top or we're in transition, David Raya comes out, he sweeps up and he cleans house. Now, again, it's easy for goalkeepers to rush out of their goal to sweep up and get it wrong, swing and a miss. We saw it with Nick Pope the other week at the Emirates when he had to foul Gyökeres. You can come out of your box, but if you come out too rash, too aggressively, you miss the ball. You put your team in danger. We saw Robert Sanchez for Chelsea get sent off earlier this season against United at Old Trafford because he came out of his goal. He was rash, he was erratic, chaotic, and he got sent off. So, David Raya, again, we haven't yet to see that from him. He'll be out of the game for large periods, but he's just so switched on, he's so concentrated, and that's the difference between him and Ramsdale. And fair play to Arteta for recognizing that. These are the fine differences that, again, fine margins where if you want to win the league, you just have to do that bit much more. Ramsdale was a very good keeper, but again, clearly David Raya has now shown that he's much better with the ball at his feet as well, right? Yes, sometimes he'll give it away, or yes, sometimes he'll make that risky pass, David Raya, but he just changes the way our system is key with David Raya in it, and we saw that in the Carabao Cup final, right? Man City were okay to let Kepa have the ball, right? Because they knew Kepa, he wasn't going to break any lines or he wasn't going to distribute the same way that we've seen David Raya distribute, in the same way that David Raya does distribute. The cup final was as clear as day for us. And those are the crucial games and crucial moments in a cup final, in a title race, where systematically you need your best players on the pitch. And David Raya is so fundamental to the way we play when we're playing out of the back. The composure, right? He gives the confidence, he instills the confidence in the rest of the defenders does David Raya when he's playing back there. You feel comfortable giving him the ball. You feel comfortable knowing that even if the shot gets past me as a defender, right, if I can't get there in time to block the shot, David Raya is going to make that save, because he's a fantastic shot stopper. That's one thing that's so impressed me so much about David Raya as well, just his ability to shot stop. We thought it was just him being able to play with the ball at his feet. No, shot stopping, collecting aerial crosses. He's not even as big as Courtois and Donnarumma, right? He's not 6'6", 6'7". I think he's about 6 foot flat. But the way he just commands his area, right? Safe hands. Anything in the air, David Raya reads it very well. He collects it and keeps us and keeps possession for us and calms things down. As a defender myself playing the game, it just I can tell you it feels so much more rewarding when you play with a goalkeeper who is comfortable, who is calm in possession and in the air, etc. It makes a world of a difference. It really does to compose the rest of your team. Again, going back to the Carabao Cup final against Man City, Kepa rushes out of his goal. I think he almost brings down, is it Doku? Could have got sent off in that moment. The referee gave him a yellow card. We saw Kepa rushing out of his box at that moment, and this was in the second half. And then I think, we saw pretty much for the rest of that second half how it unsettled the team, unsettled the back line. Obviously, the first goal we concede, he slips through Kepa's hands. If David Raya is in goal, that doesn't happen, right? So these are just some of the key differences. It really is about the fine margins, and we have to big up Arteta because if we go on to win this league, right, obviously Arteta's going to get his plaudits for many things, but we have to pinpoint and look at specifically the upgrade from Aaron Ramsdale to a David Raya to say that was very key in our season, and that was very key in our quest to win the big trophies. Absolutely, because whilst we've seen Ramsdale in a title race, make crucial mistakes at crucial moments, aka Southampton at home when we drew 3-3, David Raya, up until this point, right? Obviously, there's still a couple games left to go, so hopefully I'm not jinxing anything here. But we've seen the guy prove his worth, hold his nerve, and big games, big moments. I mean, it speaks for itself so far, right? Big games, big moments. He's played Champions League semifinals, quarterfinals, knockout rounds, title race. Again, 36 games this season for us. Has David Raya played, in the Premier League, all 36 games holding his nerve in a title race, gone to the Etihad, gone to, Anfield and, the North London derbies, big away grounds, Chelsea's. The guy's he's been there, he's been present, and he's been the reason that we've been, in all these games, and he's been a massive reason why we're still top of the league. None more so than, again, West Ham on the weekend, West Ham away in the London Stadium. People are sleeping on that save, man, but the way he stays big, he doesn't go to ground, he doesn't guess, he doesn't gamble early. Stays big, stays upright, forces Fernandez into a decision. Fernandez tries to be cute and cheeky and beat him in the near post, but Raya says, no, I'm not going to blink first, stays upright, makes that save from close range. And it's just this, it's phenomenal composure in that moment because if we go down 1-0 in that moment, I'm not sure we win that game. And it looks like at that point the league might be lost as well. That's how every little detail and every little point matters. And it's that fine margin situation. It's that fine margin, those that fine detail as to why Raya was brought in over Ramsdale. And we understand it now. I understand it now. I see it now. I see the vision. Playing out of the back, breaking the line, something that Kepa can't do, something that most keepers around the world can't do. Forget Ramsdale for a second, right? This is the difference. It's not just a Ram, it's not just it's no slouch, it's no diss on Ramsdale. It's just something that Raya has in his locker more than most keepers. Donnarumma doesn't even have it in his locker to be able to play the ball out of the back, to be able to have that distribution. We saw it when we went to the Etihad in the goal, the error that Donnarumma made that led to Kai Havertz's goal, right? More often than not, the composure that Raya has, you don't see him make those kind of whole high profile errors in big games. And that's what separates the good from the great from the world class. High profile errors in big games, right? You can't have that if you want to be, you know, recognized as one of the greats in the game. And David Raya currently is one of the best goalkeepers in the world. And on form, could be the best goalkeeper in the world. On form. So yeah, well, what a decision. What a something you look back on now with the benefit of hindsight and say it was a correct decision from Mikel Arteta to upgrade our goalkeeping department to give us a foundation because you built from the back, as they say, right? So finally getting it right in the goalkeeper department after the experiments of Leno and Martinez and Ramsdale and so on and so forth, we finally managed to get that goalkeeping department right. And David Raya could be our best goalkeeper since maybe David Seaman, Jens Lehmann, maybe. You guys tell me what you think. I mean, David Raya in the modern game for how goalkeepers are expected to play, David Raya is certainly better with the ball at his feet than what Jens Lehmann is. Um, so and listen, like I said, some of the saves that I make that I see the guy make, David Raya, speaks for itself. Some of those reaction saves, goal line saves, snapshots, aerial collections, it speaks for itself. It really does, and it's pivotal. Why can't he win, sorry, the player of the season, PFA player of the year? Why can't it be a goalkeeper if they're that influential to your team and how you play and the points that you collect? Because that save on the weekend against Fernandez again versus West Ham, that save is just as important as the goal that Trossard scores, and that save helps win us the game and preserves the 3 points that are currently in our back pocket. So why would a goalkeeper not be rewarded for that sort of accolade by getting a player, best player on your team for the season, best player in the league for the season for a team that goes on to win the league in high pressure situations? David Raya has played in more high pressure games, high pressure situations than Bruno Fernandes has. Bruno Fernandes is playing for a team who's not expected to win the league or the Champions League this season, right? Playing only 40 games. The amount of games that David Raya has played already this season has surpassed the total amount of games that United will play for the entire season by the time the campaign is over. So that amount, those mass amount of games, mass amount of minutes under your legs, the mental and emotional and physical fatigue, but to stay switched on and to keep going, there's something to be said about that. You're playing in a more high pressure situation. Goalkeeper mistakes are some of the biggest mistakes that you can make in the game because and they're high stake errors because oftentimes if the goalkeeper makes a mistake, it probably leads to a goal. A striker can make a mistake, but likely they're a lot further up the pitch. There's still so much more to do for the opposition to score on you for that mistake to be penalized in that way. So goalkeepers, they'll be scrutinized and be the first ones in the newspaper headlines for mistakes. So when they contribute in a positive light that again preserves points for a team or helps your team win a game or keep clean sheets, why isn't the praise just as loud as the criticism? So that's where I stand on it. Goalkeepers are a part of the game, they're a part of your team, they're part of the 11 on the pitch in the announcement of the match day team sheet. So why shouldn't they win awards like the PFA Player of the Year, like your team's Player of the Year, the individual team Player of the Year? and I'm not sure he'll win PFA Player of the Year, David Raya, but certainly for Arsenal, when I'm saying the team's Player of the Year, David Raya for me is Arsenal's Player of the Year. The contributions that he's made, sorry, over 36 games that he's played thus far have earned Arsenal crucial points. And in my opinion, more crucial than the contributions of any other outfield player in our team. And like I said, it's close. This is no slouch on Declan Rice or Gabriel or Saliba or whoever else. I just think over the course of 36 games, the marathon that it is, and pick your poison again. If Declan Rice wins, if Gabriel wins either of those awards, I'm not complaining. They're all Arsenal players. We love them all. But I think it's important to recognize David Raya and what he's done here and what he's done since he's come in this team. And again, the fine margins and the very fine details of not resting on your laurels and saying, yeah, Ramsdale's a good keeper, but how can we get that much better to go from top four to winning the league or winning the Champions League? And this was a key moment in that situation, in that decision, was the upgrade from Ramsdale to David Raya. To be brave when Ramsdale was, like I said, doing just fine, was a fan favorite, being brave to bring in a David Raya who is clearly now an upgrade. I think it's not even close anymore. At first, we were saying both of them are comparable. There's not much difference. I think it's clear. David Raya is quite clearly the better goalkeeper and now one of the best in the world. And potentially en route to winning Arsenal some trophies. So let's see. Let's see how it pans out the rest of the season. I hope he wins us some trophies because we're going to look back on certain moments and certain saves and say those are the moments that won us the league because of David Raya, my player of the season for Arsenal Football Club anyway. So let me know what you guys think. Let me know where you guys stand on that. This has been CJ from the Gunners Corner. Ladies and gentlemen, remember to please like and share and hype and subscribe and all that good stuff. Hit the notification bell as it really, really does help us. And yeah, there's going to be more content to come. You guys know that already, people. So we'll see you guys on the next one. I've been CJ from the Gunners Corner, and we're out. Bye bye.